Hey fellow babies, welcome back to the Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. And if you're a premium subscriber, you're watching it real time. If you are not a premium subscriber, you're watching it on a delay on YouTube. We want everybody to enjoy some Pack loving, so no problem if you're on YouTube, but just a reminder, a SIFTD.net premium subscription is $30. You get a 10% discount if you put the word Pachter in the discount code box. And that's really a pretty big bargain for a lot of premium content for not a lot of money. But again, it's a business. We just got to pay for all these episodes. Somebody has to schlep out here, has to own a camera, has to own a sound system, edit all this stuff. I am not getting paid. I'm doing this because I love my fellow babies and I want to give you as much Pack loving as I can. So either way, watch it on SIFTD.net Premium or watch it on YouTube, but we're going to answer your questions. Submit them to @MichaelPachter on Twitter and or to @SIFTDGames on Twitter, or you can ask them on the SIFTD.net site if you're a premium subscriber. So looking forward to answering your questions every week. Here we go. Our first question comes from Burkow from SIFTD. What are your thoughts on Nexon and other developers and publishers like them from South Korea and China teaming up with Western companies like BossKey and Valve? We've seen a trend toward microtransactions and more aggressive free-to-play models offsetting what should have been the rise in the cost of the average game. Will we see the death of a $60 AAA game in favor of something else? Okay, I'm going to answer in reverse order. No, you're not going to see the death of the $60 AAA game. I think that there, much like YouTube is a short form of video content, no one and premium television, you know, Showtime, HBO. So watching Game of Thrones, it's longer than a 2-minute video and it's a little bit more professionally produced. The cost of making a mobile game, even if you're BossKey or Valve, is a lot lower than the cost of making, you know, a premium experience. And so it's lower risk for those publishers. They're not taking super low risk, so they're not hiring 5 guys in the garage. They're hiring big name, really high quality developers. So BossKey being Cliff Bleszinski, you know you're getting like some of the best talent out there. Valve, obviously, I mean, those guys, Dota and Half-Life, some of the best, Portal, my favorite game, some of the best developers in the world. But all those guys sometimes tire of working on the same old grind. I mean, if you ask Cliff, a Gears of War every 3 or 4 years, the guy never slept. And it was just a never-ending nightmare of trying to hit deadlines and do everything perfectly. I think he's having a hell of a good time at BossKey making smaller games. You saw Ken Levine, who made BioShock and BioShock Infinite, who decided to downsize and start to work on some kind of mobile initiatives. You're seeing everybody do it. The size of the mobile market is gigantic. The size of the free-to-play market is gigantic. So Nexon is not just mobile. And those guys want to make high quality experiences. So I would say it's sort of like YouTube meets Avatar the movie, where you're going to get, you know, if you're YouTube and you want to get a lot of high quality content, you're going to try to get a James Cameron kind of guy to make your 2-minute video. So think super high quality but bite size. So that is free to play. That is really what a free to play game is. And the joke in the free to play community is you have to be able to play a session in line at Starbucks. Now, that's probably a little short for League of Legends, but it's certainly not too short for Hearthstone. You know, you can play a card in Hearthstone in 15 seconds. And, you know, we all do. If you play Hearthstone, you will do it in line at Starbucks. Candy Crush, I mean, I guess there are levels that take 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and maybe you can't finish them in line, but most times you can. So, you know, I think that the free-to-play experience is short form. The AAA experience is way long form. I mean, how many people, I know everybody on SIFTD.net will answer this in the affirmative, but how many people, you know, finish Skyrim in 3 hours? Not even, come on. I know there are guys who claim they finished GTA 5 in 3 hours. The truth is, that's a 30-hour experience if you're lucky. If you're me, Fallout 3, yeah, I got through the main quest in 7 hours, but I played that game for 200 hours because I found every frickin' thing in the game, and that's what you do. And by the way, I know you all did that in 12 hours, but I'm old and I'm slow. So the point is, a AAA game that gives you 200 hours of gameplay is worth 60 bucks. A game that gives you 3 minutes of gameplay, you're never going to spend 60 bucks. The free-to-play means you can have these 3-minute experiences for fun. If you get serious about it, if you put hours in it, and people put hours in World of Tanks and Clash of Clans, then you are going to ultimately spend money. And I think that the Nexons of the world say, if we can get Valve or we can get Bosky to make the game for us, you know, Zynga is buying big studios like Natural Motion. John Shappert's got a new thing. I mean, he's making free to play. All these guys are doing it. Guys who made, like I said, Madden football. I mean, guys who made real games are working on free to play. Ken Levine. You just want the best talent you can. And I actually think the other analogy is you see big movie stars making television shows. You know, they kind of move. There are Academy Award winners who are making TV shows now. Shorter form. Ultimately, yeah, I think they're going to make YouTube videos if there's enough money in it. So the games industry is just kind of following the video industry, and I think that that's where we're headed. Okay, our next question this week is from SIFTD, from Obligatory Boss Battle. This American shopping season will have the most diverse selection of pack-in game bundles, in my estimation. I must tell you, I can't even tell you what all the bundles are going to be, but okay. My question is, do you think the amount of choice is ultimately too confusing for the average consumer, or is the variety an overall good thing? Would a lack of a desired bundle at retail cause a shopper to forego buying a console, or does a standard shopper not care and buy what might be in stock? Okay, and I don't know what all the bundles are. I think I just saw a Fallout bundle, which is really seriously the only game I care about this holiday, but I already have both consoles, so I'm probably not buying it. You know, I think that it depends on the bundle and the pricing, of course, but when the bundle, typically bundles of new games are offered with the total combination discounted about 10 bucks. So if a PlayStation 4 is now down to $349, they'll give you a $60 game and they'll bundle it in and they'll sell the whole thing for $399. So you save 10 bucks. And the idea is, of course, you could buy the console and the game independently, so they have to give you a little discount. If it's a first-party game, so if it is owned by the console manufacturer, like The Last of Us, you'll throw that in the bundle for free. And what they do is they do The Last of Us Remastered, because as you all know, The Last of Us came out on PS3. So they remaster it for PS4, they bundle it. So I think bundles help push somebody over the edge to buy the console, but the truth is, bundles at holiday tend to not influence very much at all. The person who buys a console at holiday tends to be a gift giver, and they're going to buy software anyway. They just don't know what software to buy. So they'll buy a bundle. It's like, hey, I got to get a game anyway. And they tend to buy the bundle and not buy any other games. So the person they give the gift to has something to play, and then they can take their Christmas money and go back and buy something else. So again, why bundles instead of discounting the console? A $50 discount on a console costs Microsoft and Sony 50 bucks. If you bundle in the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, it costs them about $1, because Microsoft owns Gears of War, and it literally is the cost of the disc. And if they bundle it in as a digital code, it costs them about $0. So they can give you a $50 perceived value for $0 by bundling in first-party software. Not true if they're bundling in third-party software. They have to pay for that. They tend to pay less than the wholesale price of the game. So last year, Assassin's Creed Unity came bundled in, and Ubisoft sells that game for 60 bucks. They sell it to retailers for 48. They probably got $42 per copy for a bundled in copy of Assassin's Creed Unity. The reason they took a discount from the 48 that they normally get is they got free marketing. It was at the retail shelves. It was on every box. It was promoted in magazines and newspapers and whatever, on television. So they got some free marketing dollars, and as it happens, they probably sold more copies of Assassin's Creed Unity than they would have sold. So it really depends. But first-party bundles are done because they're cheaper than a discount. Third-party bundles are done because they're very slightly cheaper than a discount. And you tend to have third-party bundles only when the game is new, first-party bundles when the game is old. Hope that answers your question. I have a question from SIFTD from Gojira. With all the virtual reality options about to be set loose, which one do you think will have the most success? Boy, is that a good question. I think two of them will succeed. I think that Oculus will succeed, and I think that Morpheus will succeed. And for two completely different reasons. Neither because they're the best in class. They might be, I actually don't know. I have not tried Magic Leap, which everybody I've talked to who's tried it said it's better than the other two, so I don't know. But I think Oculus prevails because it's got Facebook behind it, and Facebook has more money than anybody, and they will spend whatever it takes to make that thing succeed. I think that Morpheus will succeed for a completely different reason, because Sony doesn't have more money than anybody. I think Morpheus succeeds because it is designed to work with the PS4. So you are going to have an installed base of around 30 million PS4s by the end of 2015, and Morpheus is not launching in 15, it's launching next year sometime. So you're well on your way to 40 or 50 million PS4s, and that is the microprocessor and the graphics processor that you need to make Morpheus work. So whatever the headset costs is unlikely to cost more than Oculus, unlikely to cost more than Magic Leap, but you've already got the built-in console or CPU, GPU combination that's already hooked up to the internet. It already works, it already does whatever you need to do. And so that processing power has humongous value. Everybody else needs a CPU, GPU combo to power the device. And my understanding is it needs kind of a lot of power. So your phone's not going to be powerful enough, your tablet's not going to be powerful enough, and a lot of you aren't going to have PCs powerful enough. So again, I'm sure there are more PCs out there that are powerful enough to run virtual reality, but they're not necessarily owned by gamers. They might be sitting in offices. So I think that Sony's got a big advantage because of the CPU, GPU that sits in every PS4. I think Oculus has an advantage because if they want to, they can drop one off on every Facebook member's doorstep and give it away for free. Don't think that they're gonna do that, but I think they have enough money to succeed. Ultimately, you're gonna buy a virtual reality headset based on the apps available for the virtual reality. And they're going to be games and they're going to be other applications. I think long distance learning is a good application. I think being in a classroom from the comfort of your living room and actually seeing the teacher writing on the whiteboard is pretty valuable. I think medical is a big thing. Having somebody do a medical exam on you wearing a virtual reality headset and you have a 360-degree camera is pretty cool. But I think it's going to be a while before we have those apps really well developed and in high demand. And so we're going to lead with games, and games require CPU, GPU, and Sony's got that. Oculus is probably going to pay up a lot to get a lot of games. I have a lot of confidence those guys are going to get top-notch developers to make really great experiences. We'll see who wins, but I think those two guys have a big head start on everybody else. Okay, we have a question from Twitter from @VinHillArt. How much does bad press affect game sales? It depends on the bad press, I suppose. If it's bad press as in bad Metacritic scores, it affects them a lot. If it's bad press as in, the developers are dicks and they're not nice to their employees, like that was the press around LA Noire, and again, I don't know those guys, so I'm not making a value judgment here. That's just what the press said. I think that probably didn't hurt sales much because I think most gamers don't have a conscience and they don't really care. They just want to play a good game. If the bad press is something like this guy murdered his mother, or he abused children, or he tore the legs off of his cat, yeah, I think that might be really bad. Abusing employees is one of those things that people tolerate because they kind of assume all bosses are jerks. So I think what you probably meant was bad Metacritic scores, and bad Metacritic scores kill. That you just cannot have a game with a Metacritic rating in the 60s and succeed. It's just not going to happen. Table stakes for a purchased game, for a $60 console game, 70 or above, and 70 is bad. 70 is right on the edge. Think school grades, think how proud you would be to come home to your parents with a 68 in English. They would not be very happy with you. And so think how proud you'd be if you're a AAA game maker trying to sell a game with a 68 Metacritic score. It's about the same thing. So game critics, you guys may not know this, but they're just a bunch of nasty pricks. So game critics just love to beat the shit out of every game. Most game reviewers will ding everything. My least favorite criticism of any game is, it's just like last year's. Well, when you make Madden football, guess what? It's just like last year's. How is it going to be different? It's freaking football. So, the guys who give it an 85 every year because it's just like last year's, somehow the game hasn't changed very much. You still need 2 feet down when you catch a pass, or it's not a completion. What do you want them to do? Improvise? So I crack up at game reviews. And I'm even amazed, at the lengths to which companies like Activision will go to mix it up with Call of Duty and have good zombies, bad zombies, people from all different centuries in the same Call of Duty game. They just mix it up, whatever they got to do. Oh, zombie mode on all the time because that's different from what we did last year. And we had Abraham Lincoln zombie killer. What was he? Vampire hunter. Whoa! Okay, so that's what movies have to do to stay fresh. You just can't make Madden football fresh. Assassin's Creed, what makes that game so cool is they can just change the setting in the decade or the century, and it gets more and more interesting. I actually think this year's is going to be really interesting, but I got a newsflash for you. If it comes out and it gets 68s, it is not going to sell well. So the answer to your question is, bad press affects game sales if the developer tears the limbs off your kitten, or if it gets a bad Metacritic score. Just about anything else is fair game. They get bad press just because they're dicks. It's okay. Okay, this week's bold prediction on the Pachter Factor. I think we're going to hear about esports from Activision in a big way this year. Activision is having an analyst event on November 6th. I think they're going to unveil their esports strategy. I'm not sure what that is, but I think that Activision has concluded that esports is a giant business opportunity, and I think that's analogous to saying sports is a big opportunity. Well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's a big opportunity, but it's bigger if you got soccer than if you have women's NBA. So the real question I've got for Activision is, are you going to create a big esports opportunity with the games you have? Because I'm not sure that being a spectator of a first-person shooter game is that easy. It's a complicated undertaking to have 4-on-4 multiplayer with 8 different points of view and trying to track 8 cameras. I watch these tournaments all the time. I watch Call of Duty. I'll go to live tournaments and watch. You've got 8 screens, sometimes 6-on-6, 12 screens. I have no idea who's shooting who. It's so hard to tell. So I actually think that that's going to be a challenge for Activision, but I think that you're going to see esports as a big initiative. I think they're going to spend a ton of money next year, 2016, building it up, and we'll see if it succeeds. I'll save my views on prospects for success for another Pachter Factor bold prediction. All right, fellow babies, that's it for this week's Pachter Factor. Please remember, you can see this when it comes out on SIFTD.net as a premium subscriber, or you can see it the following week on YouTube for free. If you have questions, please address them on Twitter to @MichaelPachter or @SIFTedGames and include the hashtag PachterFactor, and we will answer as many each week as we can get to. Thanks again.